we are stepping up the level of our services. Our goal is to treat your loved ones with the respect they deserve. We are taking our services to new heights. We are stepping in a new direction. Step into the new millennium with Golden Gate Funeral, where service begins and never ends.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Undertaker, an open and honest look into funeral service brought to you by Golden Gate Funeral Home and Crematory, with facilities in Fort Worth, Texas, Dallas, Texas, and Tallulah, Louisiana. I'm your host, John Beckwith Jr., and I'm joined today by the pastor, A. Lewis Eaton of the Church of Living God, Temple 280.
Blessings on you.
We have our Chief Funeral Director, Mr. Kevin Haynes.
Hello, everyone.
We have our sister and Chief Financial Officer, Miss Carolyn Haynes.
Hello, everybody.
We have the pastor, M.T. Body Jr. of the St. John Baptist Church of Hillsboro, Texas.
Praise the Lord, everyone.
All right, today we come from Jeremiah, the 13th chapter and the 23rd verse. Dr. Eaton, you read that for us.
The word of God says, "Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then may ye also do good that are taught to do evil."
All right, today we're going to talk about habits. Dr. Eaton, in reading that scriptures, there's some things you just can't change.
That's right.
You can't change your spots. You can't change your race. You can't
That's
change
right.
your color.
That's right.
But there are some things we can
change.
That's why we're talking about habits today. Carol, kind of give us a definition of what you believe habits are.
I think it's something, John, that you do without even thinking about it.
Okay.
You wake up and you just start to go about your routine, and whatever your habit is that day, that's what you're going to do.
Don't need a lot of thought.
No.
It just become
Comes out.
routine.
Exactly.
What do you think about that, Chief? When you think of habits, what comes to mind?
I think about some bad habits that I have.
Okay. So you think about bad
Yeah.
when habits come to mind.
I'm thinking about my cake eating habit.
Okay.
I like pound cake, chocolate cake, and red velvet cake. Not necessarily in that order, but I can have coffee with cake with my coffee in the mornings, and then I can eat cake during lunchtime, and then I can sit in the bed at night and eat a piece of cake.
So
before I
that's
go
one
to
of your
sleep.
habits, and you consider that as a bad habit. So, Pastor Body, is there good and bad habits?
Yes, there are good habits, Brother John, and there are some bad habits.
Okay.
But I prefer the good habits over the bad.
Okay.
One of my good habits is taking time through the day to study and meditate on God's word.
And that's a good habit.
That's a good habit. Now, my bad habit is drinking a bunch of Coca-Cola and eating a bunch of junk food.
All right.
If I can get rid of that habit, I'll be okay.
And Carol, you said that's something they can do subconsciously.
Exactly.
They don't have to think about. So when I think about this definition of habit, what else come to your mind, Pastor?
Well, what comes to my mind is there's something that we just seem like we are accustomed to doing.
Okay.
It
We just
don't-
become accustomed to it.
And
We repeat it over
and
and
over
over
again.
again. If he eats cake, he eats cake
All the
the time. If he's meditating, he meditates.
All the time.
And you said they don't even have to
Think about
think about
No,
it.
I
It
gotta-
just comes
Natural.
natural. We talked about some good and some bad habits here. You got any good habits, Chief?
I do.
We're not going to let you stay on the cake.
Any time that I walk into a room of people, I try to speak, and sometimes I touch everybody in that room. But I do, it's a habit of speaking to everybody.
And that's a good habit. Speaking to everybody is a good habit. A lot of folks think, Carol, you're ignoring them, or you just think you're more than what you really are if you don't speak. And we have a rule at Golden Gate Funeral
Yes,
Home.
we
We
do.
have to speak to everybody
In the room.
the room. Everybody
right.
knows that rule at Golden Gate
Exactly.
Funeral Home. Any good habits, Pastor?
I have several, but one really is the one when I love to pray and intercede for others. When,
Okay.
they going through.
And that's a good habit.
That's a good habit.
Not just being selfish, not just praying for yourself, but you
Right.
also pray for
Others.
others. And you do that subconsciously.
Yes,
you do
sir.
that repeatedly.
Repeatedly.
Don't have to give it a lot of thought. That just comes
Come natural.
natural for you, subconsciously, Carol. I like that. But not a psychologist said, is that I don't have to mentally think about it. It just happens. Now, if that's a good thing, there's nothing wrong with
Not
that.
at all. Not at all.
But when it's a bad thing, Pastor,
My Lord.
that becomes difficult to stop
Right.
doing. So let's talk a little bit about stopping habits. How difficult you believe that is?
It's very hard, Brother John. As much as I love Coca-Cola, it's hard for me to stop because every now and then I find myself saying, I'm through with it. I'm not going to go back to drink them. And then a couple of days later, I done had 2 or 3 Cokes. And then I feel bad because I'm trying to stop, and it's a habit that has become hard for me to break.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard, Carolyn, to change your habits, good or bad. They also say it becomes a fixed thing for you. And we understand when something has a fixture, it's even more difficult to move. What's one of your habits?
Well, John, one of my good habits is I'm a consistent person.
Okay.
You can say, this is what's going on, this is what Carolyn's going to do in that situation. Very consistent. And another thing is just teaching and also trying to motivate young people.
And that is your habit.
Yes.
That's a good habit you
Yes.
have. You want that to stay
Yes,
fixed?
I
You
do.
want that to stay in place?
Yes.
Any bad habits?
Well, the one bad habit that I have I'm trying to break is that I'm very resistant to change.
Okay.
And I think where you were talking about getting fixed, you get comfortable in some things. And I'm very comfortable in everything that I do and what I need to get done, and very resistant to change. So it's kind of pulling me to have to change.
And you're not the only one in the world.
No.
Anybody that has a habit is pretty much fixed in that habit.
Yes.
And that's why you say, listen, I'm going to change drinking Coke, but you
Right.
still find yourself drinking a
Going
Coke
back.
Right,
anyway.
right.
So when we think about this, Chief, is there a difference between an addiction and a habit?
Yes, there is. With a habit, you can make a pact with yourself to change that
Okay.
habit. Now, sometimes with the mental aspect and with the addictions, you have to go out and seek some professional help for that.
So, Carol, if I'm dealing with a willpower situation, hey, it's just my will against its will, that may be a habit if I'm able to change.
Exactly.
But Chief say, listen, now if you're dealing with an addiction, that's not what we're talking about today.
No.
We're not talking about something that you need to go and see a psychiatrist or a psychologist for. If you need that type of help, you need to go seek that type of help.
Please go and seek that type of help. And we tell people all the time that if there are professions out there for everything that you need help with. So if it's just like my habit of not resisting change, that willpower I can actually do. I can work every day to make sure that that does happen. But if there is something that I'm addicted to, kind of like with the Coke, with Reverend Body, or if I have really a deep addiction, I really need to seek professional help.
And a lot of times, Pastor, we'll get those two mixed up. A lot of times we'll blame something on, I'm addicted to Coca-Cola.
Right.
Well, you're probably not addicted
Right.
to Coca-Cola.
Right.
You probably can get enough willpower and beat that.
Right.
But if you're addicted to the other Coke, you
Right.
might need to go see a
Professional.
professional. And we don't want to get those two mixed up.
Right.
So often we lean on addiction when some things are just habits. If it is addiction, what do we recommend?
We recommend that you go get professional help.
And some people need
Professional help.
help.
Yes.
And we said the difference is if your willpower can't get you past it, you're probably needing some
Professional help.
professional help. So often when we have what I call habitual behavior, when habits come to the point where we've been doing it so long, Pastor Body, we start thinking our bad habits are okay. We start coming up with excuses why we have them.
Right,
Is that
right.
okay?
That's not okay, Brother John. It's not okay to make an excuse for doing bad or doing bad things. What we need to do is focus on, like you said, have the willpower to change from bad to good. The Bible asks that question, can the Ethiopian change his color? Can the leopard change his spot?
That answer is no.
It's no. But it also says, when it comes to your habits, it said you can start doing good, although you've been accustomed to doing evil. Meaning that you can make the change.
Some things you can change,
Yes,
and a
sir.
habit is one of them. Carolyn, what's the bad habit that we have that we see quite often in funeral services is people not leaving an inheritance for their family.
Exactly.
Terrible habit. We have enough insurance to pay for
Our
our funeral bills, but not any type of inheritance.
To take care of our children, John, and we take care of our children now, and then we're using that excuse with that old habit about just have enough money to pay the bills that I have now. But we've been on this show, and we're still on this show, to tell you you can fit that insurance into your budget. Your family will need you when you've passed away. You're probably the person that brings in the income to take care of the family. That income is going to be missed and needed when you pass away. So we're telling you to get that insurance policy for your family.
And that's a habit we have,
Yes.
not leaving and have
Inheritance.
bad habit.
Yes.
We need to put some willpower to it
Right.
and
Change.
get that
Yes, sir.
change.
Yes,
Another bad habit is not talking about death. We now have this Ask the Undertaker television show. We need to start talking about death. That's a bad habit.
We do, because not talking about it, it's just if you talk about it, you're wishing it on someone.
And that's what people think.
That's what
bad
people
habit.
think.
If I talk about it, it's what's going to happen. Don't you know, if that was the case, I'll just talk about being rich all the time.
Right.
If that was the case, I'll talk about a whole bunch of things.
Right.
But that's not what it takes some work to get some things done.
It does, and you have to talk about it all the time, because your mind and your thoughts will change, and everybody needs to know, what your wishes are. So, you have to talk about it.
Let's just kind of help people with these two habits. We talked about not talking about death and not leaving an inheritance. How do I change that habit, Carol? As a CFO, as a person that deals with money, my excuse for keeping this habit is that I don't have enough money to pay for insurance. How do I change that habit?
You come in and you talk to us at Golden Gate Funeral Home. We work within any budget that you have for your insurance. We need to leave something for our family. You may not be able to start out leaving that $1 million policy John talks about all the time, but you can leave your family something, and we can work an insurance policy into any budget. Give us a call.
Help me with dealing with the bad habit of not talking about death. We talked about people being afraid something's going to happen. We know that's not the case. How do we make this easier to speak about, Chief?
Well, you write it down, number one, and then you share it with everyone, and you let them know, where it's going to be and how you feel about it, so that, when the time comes, everybody will know, where it is and what you want done.
So you're saying the best way to talk about it is first put it in
writing.
In writing. If we can get everybody just write down your thoughts before you hold the conversation,
Right.
so when you hold the conversation, you know exactly what you're talking about. Help us. What's another thing we can do to help people get over this habit of not talking about death?
Is to get a pre-need.
Okay.
And that is, and what you'll do, you'll be freezing the cost of today's prices. And then the person won't have to come out on the worst day of their life and make some kind of decision.
So when I'm holding this conversation with my family, I can say, not only am I talking about it, Pastor Body, I've done something about it. When I come back to you and hold it, say, why are you talking to me about death? I don't want to, hey, I got a pre-need here. That's why I'm talking about death, is what Pastor said. Anything else we can do to help people get over this habit of not talking about death?
Yes, sir. Brother John, you can come to Golden Gate Funeral Home and sit down with one of our funeral arrangers, our funeral planners, and as he said, get a pre-need, and also make sure you have a substantial amount of insurance left.
Okay.
Because those things run hand in hand. You want to have that insurance policy for your inheritance. And we know, like they said, talking about death does not make death happen. It just gets you in the mindset to prepare for when it happens. Because the Bible says there is an appointment that all men should die. So death is going to come whether you talk about it or not. But the best thing to do is get prepared. So in any way, with a pre-need, you really don't have to talk about death, because guess what? All arrangements are already made.
So you saying if you come to the funeral home, speak with us first, it may be easier for you to go back and speak to your family about it. Carol, there's so many different ways we can talk about death. It doesn't always have to be in a sad moment.
Right.
Can we make light of it? Is there some type of curse if I make light of death? If I say, listen, we don't have to be serious about this conversation. Maybe we can put in some type of board game.
Right.
Maybe we can put it in some type of charades. What would you do if I passed away? How would you act? There's many different ways we can get this habit over without making a bad thing.
Most definitely, John. And then when he said to come to the funeral home, so that we can dispel a lot of myths too about funeral home. Our funeral home is very well lit. We have the people there to greet you. You can see the cars, you can see the area, you can see the room, you can see the caskets. So that will help you too, and is that this is not a dark, dreary time that we talk about all the time, life celebrations. We're not going to go in and we're going to be sad because you've passed away, but we're going to celebrate your life. And coming into the funeral home will help you do that, to see it does not have to be just sad.
And Chief, what we found is the habit of not talking about funeral services, the habit of not having pre-need insurance in place. It's the same things that work on all your bad habits. We talk about three things that happens with a habit. We talk about, first of all, there's something that triggers you to start that habit, either good or bad. Most people that come get a pre-need, Chief, it's because someone has passed away in their family. Something had to trigger them to start thinking about changing the way that they've been living.
Yes, most of the time it is, a result of a funeral service that has happened prior to, where they didn't have the funds to actually bury the person. And so, they didn't have time to grieve because they were worried about where the money was going to come from. So the light came on for some of those people, and they immediately came in and said, hey, I don't have anything, and I need to get something because I don't want this to happen to me, what happened to my loved one.
We don't have to wait for that trigger. Take the trigger from this show today.
Yes.
Because something's going to trigger you changing your habit, but it doesn't have to be a bad trigger.
No.
What about watching this show right now? You think that should trigger you to go do it? You shouldn't have to wait till somebody pass away in your family and you not have it to understand that you need it.
And that's the beauty of this show, is letting people know that, you know, we talk about it every day. And that don't mean we're going to go home and lay down and die. If it's our time, that's just our time.
Right.
But at least we're getting prepared for it. You know, I'm asking the Lord to give me a whole bunch of years. But I'm prepared for if it comes tomorrow, I'm ready.
And Pastor, we talk about not only using some trigger why we change our habits, but then we find ourselves doing this habit. We talked about subconsciously. But when we have to do it, isn't it a lot easier if we prepared for it ahead of time? We know we're going to have to do it. Listen, making funeral arrangements is something going to happen. That is going to, it's not the idea if this might happen. This is
It's guaranteed.
Guaranteed. And when you find yourself having to do it, isn't it a lot better being prepared for it?
Yes, sir. When you're already prepared, it's a lot easier on your family. When the time of your demise come, they can walk into the funeral home and say, well, mother, father, husband, wife, she already had everything in place for her.
Right.
So all we need to do now is just set the date and time. Here's everything already. She already got a casket picked out. If you don't mind, show it to me. She already have the limousine. She already got everything. He got everything laid out just fine. And it's a lot easier when you're prepared. And it helps you to begin the healing process. You can go on and you can grieve because you don't have to worry about coming out of any pocket expenses. You don't have to worry about making any decisions.
All done.
All done. Everything is already written out, and it's an easy journey for you than it is when you're not prepared.
And we're not just saying this. We see this
Daily.
Yes,
daily. We know the people that walk in that's not prepared what they go through,
Right.
and the people that are prepared what they go through. They say three things, Carolyn. Something's going to trigger it. You're going to find yourself doing it. But then third thing, there's a reward for doing it. Good or bad,
Yeah, always.
somewhere along the way, you give yourself some type of reward.
Right.
Yeah.
What is your reward for having insurance, leaving an inheritance? What's the reward for having a pre-need or even a will? What are the rewards for actually doing these things?
First of all, John, for me, it's peace of mind.
Okay.
I know that I've taken care of my funeral, so my family does not have to spend any money that I've left for them. In that insurance policy, I'm making sure in the future they are taken care of. And then we talk about, and we haven't so far, but our wills. That gives instructions to our family. I give instructions to our family and employees every day. It's just nice that they could pick it up and know what it is that I want done. And again, for me, it's peace of mind and a future for my family.
That is a reward.
Yes, sir.
Peace of mind. How much is that worth? Is that worth $20 a month, $50 a month?
Definitely.
Knowing that my family's okay.
Yes.
How much is that worth? I pay for an alarm every month on my
Right,
house, make sure my family's okay. I purchase weapons. I got 911 on speed dial because my family safety is important to me. So when I'm gone, are they going to still be taking care? That's a reward knowing these things are done.
Yes, it is.
But what's a reward of having that will? What about the families we see that has the chaos and the confusion afterwards, Chief? Help us with the reward of why you should get a will.
Well, the reward to having a will is that everything is laid out. So there is no chaos, there's no confusion. Sally's going to get the chair, JoJo's going to get the car. I mean, and there's no question about it. This is how your loved one felt. This is who she wanted these things to go to. So there you have it.
Now, Pastor, some people got some of these things in place. They might have insurance on their job. They might have some, but isn't it better to get this done as soon as possible? If you have some bad habits, when you think you need to stop doing them?
You need to stop them right away.
Right away. So if you don't have a pre-need, when you think you need to
You
get
need
one?
to come right into Golden Gate and get a pre-need.
And if you don't have a will, when you think you need to write one?
Write one immediately.
Immediately. If you're watching this on Sunday morning, you need to start writing on Sunday.
That's right.
Your will. And Carol, this is what happens. When we finally decide to get over that bad habit, we finally decide, okay, I'm going to stop doing what I've been doing because I know it wasn't right. Sometimes it's too late.
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes we'll find ourselves taking out an insurance policy but it's less than 2 years old. If you're going to take out that insurance policy, you have to understand there's a effective date. And if it's less than 2 years old, what do we deal with every day?
It's unfortunate, John. That policy less than 2 years old cannot be used by the funeral home. There is no guarantee amount of money on that policy at the time that you need it for that funeral. So therefore, your family still has to come out of pocket to pay for your funeral. That's why we keep saying, stop putting this off. Do it right now.
If you got a bad habit, you need to stop it and stop it
Right
now. Listen, if drinking is your thing, trust me, you need to stop it and stop it before cirrhosis of the liver. If smoking is your thing, you need to stop it before cancer. It's a lot better if you stop it before something happens. That's what we say about this pre-need. That's what we say about insurance. You need to get this done and get it done. 2 years, Carolyn, we see that consistently where families come in and say, yeah, he decided to take out the insurance policy, but it was less than 2 years old. So often, Carolyn, people keep putting it off. I'm going to go to the gym next week. I'm going to wait till the first of the year to go work out. I'm going to wait till next month to start my diet. Carolyn, we need to start these things and start them
right now.
Bad habits need to stop and stop
immediately.
And when does good habits need to start?
They need to start immediately as well.
Okay, when we stop something, we need to
start a better
We need to replace it with
something good,
something better. And pre-need, insurance, will a good habit.
All three of them are excellent habits. Those are the kind of habits that you have where you can leave a great legacy behind for your family.
Okay.
Because when death comes, there's a void in the family. But because you already had your pre-need, you already had your insurance, you already have a will in place, the void is not as bad as it is because they have good memories of your passing. They won't be worried, man, I remember Mom passed, we had to struggle here, we had to go here, we had to borrow here. You don't want that kind of memories. You don't want the bad memories, but you want the good memories of knowing, oh, when my mom passed, everything was already laid out. All we had to do was just have a funeral for her and celebrated her life.
And this is interesting, Carol. They say the older you get, the harder it is to break habits.
Yeah, because you've been doing it for years.
They say the older people are the worst ones.
We talk about you're so comfortable and it's so routine. You get up and you're going to do that habit, good or bad. And you're exactly right, John. If it's a bad habit, it's really, really hard to stop. You've been doing that 20, 30, 40 years. Then it's just not going to happen in a week or two. But you need to start.
You need to start.
Yeah,
we know it's difficult,
habit.
Chief.
Yeah,
we know you're older. We know it's difficult. But you're going to have to start somewhere.
Right.
That's the beauty of a pre-need. We talk about this all the time, Chief. This is the beauty of a pre-need. It doesn't matter how old you are. I got a call the other day, lady say, listen, my mother turned 90 years old. She no longer has insurance. She had a term life insurance. It turned out on her. She outlived her term insurance. She said, what are we going to do now? I said, come get a pre-need. You're never too old to get a pre-need. Do we turn down anybody at any age for a pre-need?
We do not turn down anyone, any age, or any illness for a pre-need.
And I had another lady come to me about 2 weeks ago and say, I have a child that has special needs. They're unable to get regular insurance. Do we do pre-needs, Carolyn, on special needs children, adults, or anyone else?
Yes, we do. As Kevin just stated, it does not matter the condition or the age of your loved one. We will have a pre-need available for you.
And we can do that for you. We're not going to turn down anyone to start these good habits. Old folks, my age, we just hard head. Why is that, Pastor? Why can't we get it together? Why can't we start anew?
Well, change.
Okay.
We're afraid of it. You know, it's some things that we just afraid of. And we think that if we change, you know, man, I can't keep up. Well, it took me a while to get a Bible on the phone. Finally got it and still have a hard time using it, so I keep carrying my beacon. But change is one of the biggest things that
because the older we get, the more we think it worked all this time so it'll continue to work.
Right.
And Chief, that is not the case. We need to get up to speed. Now we talk about all the bad habits, how hard it is. Let's talk about how to help people start some good habits. One of the things they say, Chief, first of all, you're going to have to start, and then you got to become repetitious. Meaning you're going to have to continue to do it. If you're going to start a pre-need, if you're going to start insurance, you got to pay on it when? You
got to pay on it consistently.
Every
month.
Every month.
Yes.
So, Carol, in order for me to start a new habit, I got to start doing it and doing it when?
Every time you have to just get in the routine, even if you have to put it on a calendar,
Okay.
or as long as it takes for you to get that ingrained in you, you do what you need to do. But you have to continue to do it. Oh, this month I want to buy a new pair of shoes. I'm not going to pay my pre-need. Don't have that attitude. You have to continue what you start, and we're asking you to start good habits.
Good habits, Pastor. They say it takes up to 66 days, sometime all the way up to 300 days to start a habit. Pastor, that takes a little while, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
So we're saying get started
Today.
So 3 or 4 months down the line, you can say, hey, man, that's just routine for me. I automatically get up at 6 o'clock, go work out. I automatic don't do this, and I start doing that. I just automatically do good things now. But we got to get what?
We got to get started.
Okay.
We know, Brother John, they have a saying that every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before.
Okay.
So we need to, just like if we can get in the habit of making a day sweeter with Jesus, we need to get in the habit every day of making our life sweeter. Do better, do right, eat more properly, exercise, lose that weight, and work on it every day. I have to push away. I'm just going to have to start pushing away from Cokes and writing it on the calendar. Because I know me, I will slip and go buy a Coca-Cola, and the missus will be mad because she know I had one.
So you got to hold yourself responsible
That's it.
for what you have done, Carolyn.
Right.
And you have to repeat it
Every day.
Let's talk about
Watch
those
it.
3 triggers that trigger the bad things. Those same 3 triggers trigger the good things. So first we got to find something that's going to trigger it happening.
Right.
Nobody has to pass away. Just watching this television show
It's
triggered it.
Right.
So when something does happen, we are prepared
Right.
for it. And then we said the reward
Great.
is worth
Yes.
every investment
Yes.
we've ever made.
Yes.
We can tell you from experience dealing with thousands of families annually that those who come in with a pre-need, with insurance and a will is so much better off than those who come in without those 3 things. Carol, we just want to remind the people, make sure you tell us and tell your family where everything is.
Where everything is. Put it in writing or let someone know those keys to those safety deposit box, all of those secret passwords. Don't have that secret from everybody. There should be someone that you trust so they can take care of your business when you've passed away.
And Chief, we want to tell everybody to put a payable on death on their account. Tell them how to do that.
Yes, just simply go to your bank and you can put them on your account as payable on death. It does not mean that they have access to your money at that point. It is after your demise that they have access to those funds to take care of your services.
So when you pass away, that money is not just in the bank. You have to pay an attorney to get it out. And remember to watch Ask the Undertaker every Saturday night at 7 o'clock p.m. right here on channel 47.2, and every Sunday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. on channel 21. Y'all know my favorite?
The radio
I had a
show.
man ask me one time, why is the radio show your favorite? My favorite because you can actually call in and ask questions on Heaven 97, that's 970 a.m. on your dial, every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 o'clock a.m. May God bless you and may God keep you is our prayer.
We are stepping up the level of our services. Our goal is to treat your loved ones with the respect they deserve. We are taking our services to new heights. We are stepping in a new direction. Step into the new millennium with Golden Gate Funeral, where service begins and never ends.